The days of a company using one data center, one partner, and one technology provider has obviously gone way. But what we're going to see for companies like GlobalDots is a huge opportunity to allow companies to benefit from what we've able to achieve in terms of both serving our clients and our vendors and helping it for them to develop their business further.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Meet Yuval Rachlin, CEO of GlobalDots. Yuval is a technology entrepreneur living and breathing the tech world for over 25 years. He is the founder and CEO of GlobalDots, a global web and cloud technology partner helping companies embrace innovation for over 70 years. Now trusted by over 400 global enterprises, including Lufthansa, Bosch, Wix, Playtika, AppsFlyer, Payoneer, and more, providing them access and support for the most cutting-edge technologies out there. Yuval resides in Israel. He is married with 2 kids and a dog, and as a seasoned skipper, Yuval enjoys sailing, traveling, cooking, and music. Yuval Rachlin, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
I'm good, Michael. Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Thank you very, very much for joining me. We're going to be talking about, the tech world and not a specific company, not a specific vertical, but this idea of transitioning into a tech world all around us. Pretty much every company in the last few years has realized, big or small, that they need to make this dramatic transition. Dramatic mainly because it's really complicated. There's a lot of trends, there's a lot of new technologies, a lot of processes. And with GlobalDots, you make it easier and you help them do this. So tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive deep into what GlobalDots does.
All right. So basically, I've started this business many years ago, actually. And it all started basically with me not having a job. I was living in Italy back then and I didn't have a job. I had to do something. And I knew about this very cool technology, actually one of the first implementation of cloud usage. And I knew people who could use it. And in this company, it was many years ago, so it made sense. But this company didn't sell in Italy. And later on, I realized they didn't sell anywhere else besides the US and some other locations, which is common in the industry. Nobody thought something else. But what I did is that I went to this company and I was able to convince them to cover some territories for them. And it went very well. And if I move fast forward 20 years, basically, that's what we've been doing in the last 20 years. And looking for those cool, upcoming, disruptive technologies and helping both those startups getting quicker into market as well as our clients adopting those technologies. So that's where I started and where I am now. GlobalDots now is a global company, around 100 employees around the world, from San Francisco to Tokyo, with clients, with large clients from all around the world. And basically what we're helping them is adopting new technologies. As we know, since we started in the last 20 years, the world of technology just evolved in a hyper scaling way. And the problem always was the same. If I'm a CTO, a CISO, a technology leader, it's not my job to go out there and keep track of what's happening now in the market and what I need to use, because I will not do my job if I'll do that. Later on, if I find this, now it's obvious, everybody knows it. Nobody has the human force or the experience to actually do this. So that's where we come into play. We actually introduce new technologies that help companies break their barriers and help them implement it, support it, and manage it. That's what we're doing for our global customers, and that's who we are.
Just to make sure that the idea is clear, can you give me a specific example of perhaps a company, you don't even have to mention the name, but a specific, a company or an instance where, GlobalDots comes in and changes the way the company thinks or integrates with new technologies?
We have many examples. I'll pick only one which comes into my mind. And that I think this example demonstrates the gap in the industry between what companies can do and what vendors can reach and what's missing in between. At the early days of internet fraud, I think it was 10, maybe 8 years ago, the solutions around the scraping and bot protection were very early in the market. We recognized that there was a sector, a vertical in the market that really suffers from this, and we actually in a very little time were able to take a couple of companies that were specializing in this and actually implement their solutions in, like, I think it was 10 European airlines in a year, and this for the airlines. It was a savior because they were struggling with the right solution. They didn't know what to do. They were trying to implement several solutions, and we came and solved it. For the vendors who could not approach those clients, it was basically we delivered those projects with no hassle and no investment on their side. So that's a good example of, and we do, basically we do it every day and the whole day. But that's an example that might resonate better.
So what is really the pain point that we're observing here? You're taking, examples of companies that are, struggling to make the leap, right, into the technological leap. Perhaps they even try and they fail. What are the different challenges that GlobalDots and you as the leader of GlobalDots are realizing as you're building and continuing to grow the company, incredible with more than 100 people? What is the really the pain point in the market right now?
So I think there are several main pain points for the clients, for the users. It's picking up the right technology, definitely. We all know that technologies change very quickly, but we cannot adopt a new infrastructure every year. So you need to make a good decision. They used to say you cannot be fired if you buy IBM. I don't know. I think you're too young to know this phrase. Do you know it?
I heard about it in the history books.
Yeah. So yeah, it's from the 90s. I think it died in the 90s. But people used to say you cannot be fired if you buy IBM. Today, you don't have a safe haven. You don't have it. You really need to take a good decision, a very, very important decision of what you will bet on, which solution will serve you for at least 3 to 5 years. So this is the first, which technology to use. And the second, of course, this is the biggest challenge now globally, is who would implement it and support it and manage it. There are no people with the right knowledge in the market, and companies are struggling to hire people. So those are the two main struggles for the users. For the startups, for the technology vendors, obviously, there's a reason why they're all investing millions of dollars in spinning up sales departments from zero. I'm not saying they shouldn't, of course. They should. That's their job. But until they do that, it's a long process. It takes years to build a good sales team. Until then, they can use GlobalDots, who would really shorten their time to market and would expose them to important use cases that they would benefit in their development cycle.
What is the process that you have to do as you enter a company? Let's say I'm running a company and I present my challenges to you. What is sort of the process that you're going to go with me as we work on figuring out how you're going to be implementing these solutions with me?
So, first of all, we're doing obviously a deep study of the infrastructure. We have a lot of tools to examine what works, what doesn't work, what would be better. We have a lot of experience. So we do a lot of digging around, and we will let you actually, and that's the best, I think, we will let you choose from various options, and we will let you try out several options. And this is something that if you want to do alone, it will take you weeks to deal with the salespeople and the whole process of those companies. And we can really bring up POCs of the main suspects very, very quickly. You have a quick decision, and we move forward. So that's, I think, after the study and the digging into your infrastructure, which everybody would do, we would line up a few candidates that it would be easier for you to decide.
Now I'm looking and I'm thinking critically about, the companies that I'm seeing around me, and I'm thinking what I would be considerate of as a leader here. And I think when you're talking about this idea of diving into the infrastructure and really understanding and doing a deep dive into the market, I'm thinking to myself, well, great. Well, I've been doing this for years. I have a team that's been doing this with me for years. Who better to do that than we? And I think this raises the dilemma of outsource versus in-house. So from your experience now working with many clients, where is this consideration? How do we actually weigh these two things?
Yeah, it's always the case for companies like ourselves. It's getting better because people, an IT department cannot hire. The talent is very not common right now. There's a big competition on every job, and it's an employer's market. So sometimes it's something that they cannot move forward with without external help, because if it's a subject that we learned in the last 5 years, they will never find someone out there in the market that would know it, and it will take them time to learn. So first of all, they all acknowledge the fact that they can learn from our experience and from the fact that we have seen all the use cases, and we've seen the use cases for their competitors, and we are able to shorten the time to get the good decision. So that's why. So you can do it in-house. It will cost you more. It will take more time, and we will probably then. That's the main thing. You will be very quickly biased by things that are less professional. It's organizations have their own DNA and their own processes, and if you do it in-house, you will never reach optimal. Some people are good with that. But if you take it out for professionals, you can show that you get the right technology in the right time, the right support, and the right implementation. Otherwise, you need to deal with the vendors directly. That's also a possibility. It's just time consuming.
And I imagine that a big part of the role, and at the end, the goal is not to complete the project successfully, but for all the parties to be happy, right? And I'm sure that communication plays a really big role here. What have you learned about how to facilitate the communication with your clients, especially when it's regarding things that you are obviously more knowledgeable about, yet they're the ones who have a KPI that they need to meet at the end of the day? How do you manage the communication around that?
Yeah, so we're trying to provide constant training to our customers. This is part of our day-to-day, doing workshops, allowing them to expand their knowledge. And this helps us to also communicate in a more, I would say, not instructional, in a more consultant way, and it helps us to basically build a good communication and trust with our customers, and it's something that helps.
Right.
Of course.
To wrap up some conversation about the domain and the vertical, before I want to get to know you better, if you're looking at where we're headed, as a tech world, as an ecosystem, as we're advancing, the rate of technology is changing. What's going to happen? With a company like GlobalDots, or with the ecosystem as a whole, where are we headed towards in terms of enabling companies to maximize their potential in the ways that GlobalDots allows them to?
So I think the global trend of moving from on-prem to the cloud in all services, all across the board, whatever you'd like, is a good indication of the change that the market is moving from holding things inside into releasing and enjoying the benefit of the scale of others. I think we're going into a situation where a lot of companies will use a lot of services, and in order to support those services, they would need a lot of partners. Some of those partners are the vendors themselves. Some of the partners would be other partners that would unify some other vendors. But this is where we're going. The days of a company using one data center, one partner, and one technology provider has obviously gone way. But what we're going to see for companies like GlobalDots is a huge opportunity to allow companies to benefit from what we've able to achieve in terms of both serving our clients and our vendors, and helping it for them to develop their business further.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So taking back a little bit, Yuval, down memory lane, middle school, elementary school, you're looking at yourself as an entrepreneur. Not even as an entrepreneur, you're like 10 years old, but what really...
No, I was an entrepreneur, don't be wrong.
Okay, tell me about that. What type of entrepreneur were you at 10 years old?
I was, I think, I can't remember 10 years old, but that there are, I think it was earlier, there are experiences in life, I'm sure you know it, that changes, that you remember them, that they change you somehow. And I'll tell you a short story on how I became, first of all, a salesperson, and later on an owner of a company who does mainly sales. So I'm talking about the late 70s. My mother had a Fiat 188. I don't know if you even know the name Fiat, so I won't even go further. And she wanted to sell it. And there were, no cellular phone, of course, no phones at all. I think we were the only ones. We had a phone. So my mother goes out and she tells me, Yuval, I put up an ad for the car. And if someone calls, just answer and give them, tell them a little bit. So someone calls and I pick up the phone and I just talk to him. I sold this car in this first call. I didn't notice it, to be honest. But then I heard people talking how he sold the car. He sold the car. Slowly, I got the idea that there's something. I have something that I can do that change people's mind, or at least I was certain that I can do that. And this was I found myself focusing on doing business at the age of, I think, of 10 or 14. I had already a network of agents selling door to door. Basically, I'm doing the same. what I'm doing now, it's exactly what I did then, basically. So, that's what I did. So I was an entrepreneur back then, and I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. It was written all over my face.
How did you end up then starting GlobalDots? You knew that this is a part of who you are, but how does the story go that you then decide, okay, there's actually a big gap here and I can actually leverage my sales, my sales abilities while also bridging the gap with their actual needs?
So as I said in my, when we started to talk in my first anecdotes, when I was living in Italy, I realized that I was able to deliver this promise of new technology for companies who needed it and didn't hear about it. And this is where, this gap was evident for me, and that's where I started.
But did you know that you're going to be able to, that the vision is to build a company that employs more than 100 people around the world to solve it? I understand the pain point in Italy, seeing that example, but there's a big gap between seeing that pain point to building a company that is running for so many years with so many people.
No, I didn't have this vision. It came out along the way. It was evident along the way. At the beginning, it was a one-man show. Then it was very successful. Then, I saw the opportunity. Then I hired more people and turned it out into a company. I never thought it would be a 100, and I never thought we'd reach the clients that we are serving, and I never thought that we would reach the volumes that we are delivering. So I knew that I was an entrepreneur, but I didn't think that I would do it like that.
Incredible. If you look today,
I think very few people, Michael, really, they know vision exactly what they'll have in, and they know that there'll be an inventor. They'll know that there will be, I don't know, a great professor, but they don't know exactly where they'll end. But
100%, 100%. Now, if I were to ask anybody around you, one of your 100 employees, any of your clients, who is Yuval? In a few words, what words would come to mind?
I think they will say creative, they'll say calm, and they'll say a thinker.
Creative, calm thinker. Amazing. Yuval, toda rabah. Thank you very, very much for joining me here.
It was my pleasure.
It was interesting to talk about, both your journey and the founding of GlobalDots, but also this understanding and the dilemma, the dissonance between outsource and in-house, and the different challenges that companies may have in understanding what are the breadth of opportunities that are out there, especially as, every day that goes by, we have new technological opportunities, new challenges to overcome in a never-ending globalized world with the acceleration from this last year and a half, 2 years. I think it's pretty amazing. And so thank you very, very much. And stay safe.
My pleasure. Thank you, Michael. Take care.
Thank you.